ago, the Astros pitching staff was battered and beleaguered. Tonight, they return to Minute Maid Park after an impressive display of power and precision in Pittsburgh. A much improved Kansas City club comes to town, saddled with 3 straight heartbreaking losses in Oakland. Can Dallas Keuchel answer the call against the Royals tonight? Live from Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, Comcast Sportsnet brings you Houston Astros baseball. Tonight it's the Astros versus the Kansas City Royals. It's the first of a 3-game series. Good evening, everybody. Bill Brown, and welcome home to Alan Ashby. The Astros coming back from a road trip to begin an 8-game homestand tonight, and they and the Royals have something in common. Both have been losing close, low-scoring games lately. Ash.
Kansas City 3 straight in Oakland, all by 1 run. And it's a pretty good Kansas City ball club. They haven't swung the bats the way they had anticipated coming in, but their pitching has been much better than anticipated.
Well, the Astros would like to stack up well with them on starting pitching. That's been a good run for them the last 3 games from the starters now.
It certainly has, Brownie, and that's been the one area that has created some closer ball games. Jordan Lyles was awfully good in Pittsburgh, and that was promising to see. Eric Bedard able to go 6 innings, longest he has gone for the ball club to this point. So also Eric allowing just 2 runs in 6 innings. And then Lucas Harrell yesterday takes a no-hitter into the 5th inning, gave up a home run, but that was all he would give up on the afternoon. Lucas Harrell was outstanding. He was a ground ball machine. And now it's back to Dallas Keuchel. Keuchel gave up this big home run in the 2nd inning in Detroit. It wound up costing him a 3-run home run to Garcia. But other than that, he was really brilliant, changing speeds throughout the day, moving the ball around. And he gave the Tigers fits when it was all said and done.
Well, the Royals have been having their problems scoring runs, but their shining star right now is Alex Gordon.
No doubt about it. He is the 3-hitter in the order. He deserves to be it. He's an all-star caliber left fielder. He has just been brilliant out there defensively, and with the bat, he is now becoming one of the real stars in Major League Baseball. He can drive the baseball a lot like George Brett did in that Royals uniform for years. He comes in hitting .343. He's hit safely in, I believe it's 13 of 14, might be more than that right now. Alex Gordon is the real deal with the bat.
And the Royals bring a cast of talented young players. Jeremy Guthrie is one of the veteran guys, and he's been good on the mound lately.
Jeremy Guthrie actually had a streak of 18 consecutive starts without a loss on his ledger. That recently was broken, but he's a guy that gives up home runs. He's given up 11 this year. The other guys on that list, James Shields is a real front-of-the-order rotation guy. He is an outstanding pitcher. So they've got 2 or 3 guys at the top of the rotation that really have done the job for KC this year.
Coming up from Minute Maid Park, as both these teams well know, baseball is a game of inches, and a game in which deciding plays can turn things. They've both seen that recently. We'll have more with Bart Ennis in just a moment.
Royals are about to get this series underway. And as the guys alluded a moment ago, these two teams have remarkable records over the last couple of games. Close games, all of them, and neither team has had a whole lot of success in those close games. And you take a look at the numbers, they are strikingly similar, as the Astros really had a tough series in Pittsburgh, but the Kansas City Royals also got swept over the last 3 games by the Oakland A's. But look at the record, 3-7 for KC, 2-8 for the Astros, 1-run losses. They have 4 each, 2-run losses, 1 each. So it's all very similar. And for Kansas City, really, their offense has been their problem over the last 13 games. They've lost 10 of their last 13, and 9 times during that stretch, they have scored 3 runs or fewer. So they're really looking for their offense to get going tonight. The Astros will be leaning on Jose Altuve, who is back and feeling a lot better after the death of his grandmother, back and ready to go. And Jose told me that series in Pittsburgh was very, very tough on this team. But he said, hey, we've been talking about it in the clubhouse. We're trying to learn how to overcome those things and stay positive. After all, with a pitch here and an out there, the Astros very easily could have won that series. The Astros will also have some offensive help in the middle of their order tonight in the form of J.D. Martinez, who has really got it going lately. 6 for 18 on this most recent road trip, and he's got the long ball going a little bit. Look at that one, the 461-foot blast in Detroit. J.D., since his rehab stint down in Corpus Christi, has been hitting the ball very well, so he is back in that cleanup spot tonight, and Astros are hoping that will pay dividends. Dallas Keuchel, the lefty on the mound for the Stros, looking for his first win of the season tonight. Jeremy Guthrie having a very solid season for Kansas City, but he's given up 11 home runs in 8 starts. Maybe J.D. Martinez can get one of those. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. It's been a warm one outside. The roof is closed to open this 8-game homestand. First of 3 between the Astros and the Royals. And they'll have a return engagement in Kansas City a little bit later on down the schedule. Meanwhile, we check the starting lineup for Ned Yost's Royals. It's Lorenzo Cain in center field. Alcides Escobar, shortstop. Alex Gordon in left field. Billy Butler, the DH, is the cleanup man. With Salvador Perez, the emerging young catcher and one of the very best in the majors, batting 5th. It's Eric Hosmer at first base. Jeff Francoeur in right field. Miguel Tejada, the former Astro, at third base. Elliot Johnson at second base.
For the Astros on the hill, left-hander, 25 years of age. Dallas Keuchel makes his 3rd start on the season, 9th appearance overall. Allowed a few more hits than innings pitched on the year, and 5 homers at this point. Last time out against the Detroit Tigers, and in fact the last 2 starts, Tigers And Texas Rangers, Keuchel has done very well.
Lorenzo Cain gets it started against this lefty. Dallas pitched very well here against Texas that last home start for him. And this is start number 3 in the rotation for him as he delivers ball 1 to get it going. 308 for Lorenzo, 1 homer. He's driven in 22 with a 376 on base average, 6 stolen bases for the leadoff man. And he's not been the only leadoff man. Ned Yost has tried different people in that lineup. 2 balls, no strikes. The Royals are 13th in runs scored in the American League with 171. That's in for a strike, and Keuchel has a 2-1 count now. John Tumpane is the home plate umpire. Ned Yost in his 10th major league season as the skipper has 675 wins, 775 losses. And out in front of the changeup, Cain screwed himself into the ground. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Awfully nice when you can come with a 2-1 or any count from behind as a pitcher and bring a changeup in the strike zone, inducing that swing out in front.
Keuchel maintains a nice quick pace. Inside he comes, and it's 3 balls 2 strikes for Cain. Cain has walked 12 times this year. The Royals are 2-4 on their road trip. They went to the Angels' place and then to Oakland. They were swept in Oakland after winning a couple from the Angels, and they're a season high 4 games off the lead pace being set in the AL Central by Detroit. Kansas City had a record of 17-10 through May 5th and now is 20-20. Keuchel walks the leadoff man, Cain.
That walk doesn't enable the defense to get a whole lot done, but defensively behind Keuchel tonight, Jason Castro behind the dish. Around the infield, first to third, Chris Carter, Jose Altuve, Marwin Gonzalez, and Matt Dominguez. In the outfield, Robbie Grossman in center, flanked by Jimmy Paredes in right, and J.D. Martinez in left.
Now the shortstop, Alcides Escobar, comes up, hitting .250 with 3 homers. He's driven in 16. Rail thin 26-year-old from Venezuela with 276 on base average. And he's one of several Royals who has been unable to compile the type of numbers they had last year for a full season when he hit .293. Taking strike 1 there. Escobar has run well when he's gotten on base, but with that .278 on base average, that's not exactly what Ned Yost is looking for. Escobar went 1 for 13 against the A's pitching staff. Now it's 0-2 as Keuchel comes in on him.
Escobar would certainly appear to be susceptible to that pitch on the hands.
Escobar had an 0 for 12 drought. He ended that with a 3rd inning single yesterday. But the Royals just simply could not break through against that Oakland pitching staff in that 3-game series. Cain has a pretty decent sized lead with Carter holding him at first base. Gets a little further off now. And a swing and a miss. Escobar's down on strikes. Foul tip actually for out number 1.
Keuchel stayed right inside on the hands and gets you out. At American League Central, the Indians, boy, under Terry Francona, what a job they've done to this point. And the Tigers in second place. That's surprising for me. The Tigers on paper, really good ball club. Kansas City much improved. The White Sox starting to swing the bats a bit, and Minnesota is likely to have a tough time.
Well, the Tribe looking strong at 26-17. Now the top hitter against left-handed pitching in the American League, Alex Gordon. Gordon lines one to left field, and that will be in for a hit in front of J.D. Martinez, who throws to second. Not in time there to get the out on Cain. Gordon takes his hitting streak to 8 games with that looping liner to left.
He's just a good hitter. You can't just try to get ahead on Alex Gordon, because if you come in with that first pitch fastball and find the plate, he's going to sting it somewhere. And he's one of those hitters now that really doesn't care much if you're left-handed or right-handed. He'll get his good swings.
JD took a shot at the forced play, but now it's first and second, 1 out for the Royals, and Billy Butler is the batter. Talented DH, one of the best in the American League. Checks in at 273 with 5 homers. He's driven in 30. First round pick of the Royals in 04. Butler takes a look at a floater, and it's ball 1 to Billy. And Butler just really talented with the stick. He was 2 for 4 with a walk yesterday. Had 4 hits in the Oakland series. Hitting .480 on this road trip, going 12 for 25. Castro out to give signs to the infielders with this situation. First and second and 1 out. Butler is a double play threat. Does not run well and hits the ball hard quite often. Butler cracks one in the hole. Backhanded. Here's a throw from Marwin. Jose. And on over to Chris Carter. And that's a 6-4-3 double play to clean it up in the first for Dallas Keuchel. It's no runs a hit and a man left. And the Astros lead the majors. This is double play number 58. Matt Dominguez, Marwin Gonzalez.
On the hill for these Kansas City Royals, he's a veteran right-hander, Jeremy Guthrie, 34 years of age, and having a fine start to his year. 5-1, 2.82 the ERA, and that ERA was much better prior to his last start. That one against the Angels, and they roughed him up and handed him a loss, something he hadn't had for 19 starts.
First pitch, ball 1 to Robbie Grossman. Robbie's hit safely in 13 of his last 17, hitting .200, 3 runs batted in. He was talking about that before the game. He knows he can do better than that. Said he's hitting about the same way he did in the minor leagues in terms of taking pitches, going deep into counts. But he would just like to see better results, more hard hit balls, more consistency.
What I notice a lot with Robbie Grossman is, and I guess it's from both sides of the plate, I think to this point he has shown to be a better, maybe more lethal hitter right-handed, but he takes a lot of close pitches with 2 strikes, and it's come to bite him a number of times, striking out looking.
He rolls this one out to second. Elliott Johnson throws it to first, 1 out.
That defense tonight behind Jeremy Guthrie starts from behind the plate. Salvador Perez, and he's been swinging the bat very well around the infield right to left. Eric Hosmer, Elliott Johnson, Alcides Escobar, he's got a very good arm at short. Miguel Tejada, about 50 or 60 years of age, not sure. In the outfield, Lorenzo Cain in center, flanked by Jeff Francoeur and Alex Gordon.
Jose Altuve is 6th in the American League in hits with 54. He gets a strike at 333. He checks in with 2 homers. He's driven in 19. Trying to get something stirred up against Guthrie, who is 2-0 lifetime against Houston. Guthrie pounds it inside. It's 1-1. Guthrie got a chance to remake himself after that trade last year, taking him from Colorado to Kansas City in July. He was the opening day starter a year ago for the Rockies, and things did not go at all well for him at Coors Field.
That was his first year with the Rockies, and they were hoping he could come in and survive the thin air in Denver. Didn't work out. He was already a guy who gave up a lot of home runs in Baltimore.
First round pick of the Orioles. That off the end of the bat, heads for the center fielder Kane, and it's 2 outs. Guthrie was an 0-2 first rounder by Baltimore. 2 outs, and here's Jason Castro now. Last year at Coors Field, Ash, Guthrie was 1-5 with an ERA of 9.50 in 9 games.
You want to know why that ERA was a bit lofty?
Yes.
21 dingers probably would lead to that a bit in 90 innings, 90 and 2/3 innings, 21 dingers. You want to keep it down about 1 per 9-10 innings, and kind of exceeded that figure.
A little bit. Jason Castro at 243 has 3 homers. He's driven in 10. This fly ball heads for Kane in left center. And Guthrie compiles a 1-2-3 first to keep it scoreless after 1. Reed Ryan joins us next.
Open helps send your favorite Astros, including last year's All-Star Jose Altuve, to the 2013 Midsummer Classic. It's in New York City this year. Vote early and vote often at Astros.com. All-Star voting closes July 4th.
Well, with his play on the field, he is garnishing a lot of support, of course, for that All-Star honor this year, which seems to be headed his way again. And nice for a young player to establish himself with 2 in a row, if this is number 2 in a row at the beginning of his career, Ash.
Completely deserving. Not just the guy on the ball club that maybe doesn't have anybody else, but for me, Jose Altuve is absolutely an all-star in this league.
Salvador Perez is another one of those young all-star type players. There's ball 1 to him, leading off the second inning at 3:07. He has 1 homer, 14 runs batted in. Just 23 years old, from Valencia, Venezuela. And last year his season was shortened to 289 at bats. It started late. He was on the 60-day disabled list at the beginning of the year after left knee surgery, but he is coming out. And just a top-notch defensive and offensive catcher. 1 ball, 2 strikes. So he's going to be fun to watch, he and Altuve, as they compete down through the next few years, Ash.
Talking with our producer and probably missed out on you a bit there, Brownie.
Well, he and Altuve, 2 of the emerging young players. They're both from Venezuela, but both in their early 20s. And Perez strikes out. So these 2 guys could be headed for a few all-star teams down through the years, Ash.
No doubt about it. And nice to see again there that changing of speed. Good location for Dallas Keuchel. He has to survive with that, as you well know. Doesn't have the type of fastball to dominate hitters.
Eric Hosmer comes up next. Hosmer has not been able to get it going yet this year. He's one of the key hitters in this Kansas City lineup. That curve missing for ball one. You saw the stat on how often Keuchel throws that to left-handed hitters. Hosmer drove in 60 last year. He was a first-round pick in 08. In tight, and it's a 2-ball, no-strike count to Eric Hosmer.
I think if you talked about the offensive woes for the Royals right now, anybody with that ball club would probably begin by talking about Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas as the two guys who have disappointed.
That's chopped off the plate out towards second, but maybe a hit. Yep. Altuve tried to barehand it. Hosmer, who's not fast, was able to beat it out. That ball took a high bounce off home plate and had some serious hang time on it.
What you hope as you begin a series is that a guy like Eric Hosmer doesn't suddenly get hot because of a little bleeder like this. Oftentimes the chink hits are the ones that'll get a guy going. And that barehanded effort, you wonder, had Jose chosen to go with the glove, might he have been able to get the out?
That was the question as the play unfolded. Hit number 2 for the Royals. Brings up Jeff Francoeur, 209, 1 homer, 9 runs batted in. Just 0-56 in his last 10 games for the former Atlanta Brave. He rolls one into right field. Hosmer gets to second. He'll hold there. And it's back-to-back singles as Francoeur hits one between first and second. With one out, it'll be Miguel Tejada.
I think Jeff Francoeur would be another guy that the Royals would talk about with the offensive woes. Not that he has failed to produce at all. He just hasn't produced the long ball this year. And I think they've counted on that a bit more from him.
Now the former Astro, what a likable guy, Miguel Tejada. Back in Major League Baseball this year with a .348 average, 3 runs batted in. And he had those very good years in 08 and 09 with the Astros. Just such a likable guy. He will turn 39 in 5 days.
Oh, come on, you're kidding, right?
He played in the minor leagues last year. Fouled it back. He was with Norfolk in the Baltimore organization, but was released June 25th. So came back as a utility infielder this year, signing late in the winter to try to make this Kansas City club, which he did out of spring training, and now playing primarily third base.
Don't you just love these guys who have talent? They just love the game and they want to stay as long as they can.
Yes. He just loves the game too much. It's not about money so much as just doing what he wants to do as long as he can in life.
Dallas Keuchel utilizing that inside corner very well on the fastball.
Well, that's important because Tejada, as you know, Ash, hits that pitch away extremely well.
Well, when he was a young stallion in this game, he could go that way with anybody.
Yep. Drove in 150 runs in 04. Tejada is down, and that is out number 2.
But that big breaking ball, that's not the little tight cutter or slider. That's a big breaker on the hands. Just sweep it on in on the hands. And as a hitter, sometimes you try to keep this ball fair and there's almost no way.
Keuchel's curveball has been very effective, and there's only a 188 batting average when he throws that pitch. Now Elliott Johnson, former Tampa Bay Ray, comes up. Johnson takes it. It is strike one to the number 9 hitter at 265. 1 homer, 2 runs batted in. Royals are 11th in on base average in the American League. They certainly have improved their pitching staff with the moves they made over the winter. And with these young players in the lineup, they had hoped to support them with better offense than they have had this year, Ash.
And it's been a ball club, the Royals, in recent years. They'll start out a season just hitting the ball all over the place, but they've had no pitching. And now they've gone out and they've certainly improved in that category, and the offense dips.
They had extremely high hopes after having failed to make the playoffs for 27 consecutive years coming into this season.
Where was George Brett all that time?
Yeah. It's over, shortstop into left field. Hosmer coming home. No throw. 1-0 Kansas City. And a looping single by Johnson. J.D. Martinez wanted to throw home, but he lost his grip on the baseball. Hosmer scores, and Johnson picks up his third run batted in.
Brandon Barnes, and I have to dig back into the Pittsburgh series. What a throw Barnes made here. A little bit tougher because there's not a whole lot on this ball going into left field. You have to just simply charge as hard as you can if you're J.D. Martinez and see if you can come up with it cleanly. Did a nice job charging, just couldn't make that transfer.
Eddie Rodriguez, the third base coach, sent Hosmer home, and it's 1-0 with Kane coming around for the second time now. He walked his first time up. Lorenzo injured a groin about this time a year ago, and that really dogged him. Wound up missing 78 games last year. From Valdosta, Georgia. Keuchel had a count of 0-2 on Johnson when he gave up that hit. So again, oh so close to ending the inning. And he's had an infield hit off the plate from Hosmer, and that looping single barely over the outstretched arm of Gonzalez at shortstop. That one's off the plate. Keuchel over to field this one. And that is out number 3. 1 run scoring on 3 hits, 2 men left. It's 1-0 Royals. President of Business Operations for the Astros. First day on the job as far as a home game.
Correct.
You couldn't even make it in here for the top of the inning because so many people were stopping you outside.
You know, it was great. People want to stop, say hello, and tell you things that they'd like to see different, or, you know, whatever there is on their heart. And so, you know, it's been great. I've had some really good conversations tonight.
It really is amazing from my perspective. I remember Reed from being just a young man in the clubhouse, and even going down to the house in Alvin and seeing you and Reese and the kids playing on the lawn and hurting each other and all that sort of thing.
Well, and your kids as well.
Yeah, they were probably the ones that were crying, getting hurt all the time. But good to see you here and doing what you're doing.
Well, it's great. You know, time flies, first of all, as you know. And you look up, and I've been in the minors 16 years working, and never thought I'd probably have this chance here.
Amazing.
When did this begin to become a reality for you?
You mean being here right now?
Well,
it's still not, to be honest with you.
It's still not a reality for you to be president of the Astros.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
But today was a good day today at the office. Got there early, and we had a staff meeting and sort of dropped some stuff in. And then there's just so many things to get caught up to speed on because there have been so many changes since we sort of stepped away a little bit from the organization a couple years ago.
Yeah. So what excites you most about the possibilities?
Well, it's that there's a lot of room to improve, and that the club has some good young players, and there's some more good young players coming. And, you know, if you walked into a situation where, you know, this club was in playoff contention, you might not be able to have as much of an impact as coming in when it's, you know, lower towards the bottom.
Tap by J.D. Martinez after the shortstop. Escobar out number one. Well, you know, you go back to minor league days with a lot of these players from when they were at Round Rock maybe, or Corpus, and so you've seen that progression. That's a big part of what the Astros are doing right now. Ken Schramm of the Corpus Christi Hooks is here today for your first home game, so it all comes together, doesn't it?
Well, it is. I wanted Ken to come up tonight because obviously Corpus is going to become part of the family with us, talking about a sale of the club to the Major League parent club, and then, you know, we're wanting to do some things with Corpus Christi to really get that Astros brand out there, and as the TV market grows, you know, we want to be prepared to try to capitalize on that, you know, growing market down there.
And I hear that you're immersing yourself already into the Astros in Action Foundation. You're very interested in doing more with that.
What I told Meg today was that, hey, anything we can do to get out in the community, anything we can do, you know, where I'm out there with kids, people want to hear me talk about the game or come out and do something, let me know. I'm glad to do it. I have a real passion for this game, you know, and you guys feel the same because it's given our family so much. It's given us so many great opportunities, and so I just want to hold it in that high regard and treat it with the respect it deserves.
And speaking of your family, I'm sorry, but I can't help but look at you and see your dad in a younger day. It's just uncanny.
Yeah.
I tell him, I say, I got the hair and you got the arm. How did that work out, you know?
Well, right now it's kind of working out better for you.
Yeah, well, he called me early this morning, and then this has been just such a whirlwind day. I said, oh, hey, I got to let you go. I had this call coming in, and then I talked to Roger because I left him a message, Clemens, and he kind of gave me about 30 minutes of stuff. And then I called the commissioner, and then I'm in this meeting about TV, and it's just like, hey, first day on the job is not, you know, just sharpening pencils all day. I was just thrown right in the fire today.
How is the pace of this job compared to the job you had?
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. The job I had, because I had Corpus and Round Rock, and I had the Rangers and Astros, both sides of my brain were always working, and it was tough because, you know, I'm having to learn players in both systems and the staff. It's just been really nice to relax and just say, hey, I'm just going to worry about the Houston Astros. And so I also did a lot of traveling, Brownie. You guys, I'd run back and forth up and down the interstate. And it's going to be nice to really be in the community and try to take a deep dive with the community here.
Exactly.
You talked about the TV stuff going on, and you had a meeting today. I gathered you had something going on there. How's that all coming?
Well, the meeting I had today really was just with Jim and some of the folks just to say, hey, let's bring you up to speed on kind of here's where we are. Because there's so much, people are asking me questions, and, you know, here it is, literally the first day today. You know, I want to be versed enough to understand the situation, and I'm not going to have any great answers today, but hopefully in the process as it grows, I'll be able to help, you know, be part of the solution. But anyway, I left the meeting today kind of feeling like, you know, I've used this term know enough to be dangerous. I sort of know enough now to kind of know where we are in the process, and I look forward to the next one.
I'm covering the dangerous side. You get some other angle to work on, okay?
But it's great. I went down and got to speak to the team. Bo introduced me, and Jeff introduced me, and we got to say hello.
There's an extra base hit for Reed Ryan into the right field corner. Carlos Pena. Here's Carter coming to third. Now Trembley's going to bring him. He stopped him, and he will not be able to score. He had stopped him and then tried to bring him in as the throw was late coming in from Frank Gore, but by then Carter had already shut it down. So that's a double for Pena.
Well, he played it safe right there. I was kind of giving the ooh because at first I saw him waving and thought he was going to go, and I didn't know if he would make it.
Chris Carter, not the speediest guy, as you well know, on the ball club. And so I think once you stop a guy like that, it's hard to get the resend going. But nice to see Carlos hang one out down the right field side. We saw him doing a lot of this back early, the first week or so of the season in Seattle in particular.
Well, Carlos is a professional hitter. There's no doubt about that. He's had some really good years.
As you have looked at the talented Corpus Christi, how's it stacking up now compared to what you've seen in recent years?
There's more arms than we've ever had. You know, we've had some good pitchers come through before, you know, whether it was Bud or Jason Hirsch at the time or Chris Sampson or Wandy, some of the guys. But the quality of arms. I mean, Fultonevich throwing 100 miles an hour. Wojciechowski got called up. He had great stuff. So, Jason Stoffel, he's gone up to AAA. There's just so many guys down there with really good arms that you get excited about it, because if you have pitching, you can win, as you know. I mean, that's what it's all about.
And that 100 you talk about with Fultonevich or however the name is pronounced.
Little capper out to second. This will get Carter home.
There you go.
Paredes grounds out, but he gets his 4th RBI, and it's 1-1.
But we're legit. I mean, we're talking about guns that are not suddenly going to completely change once he does get to the big leagues.
No, I mean, the scouts are there watching him, and, there's his stats right there. The first game he threw in San Antonio, I didn't see. He punched out 9 in 5 innings. So he's got an ERA right there of 1. And Gary Ruby, who's the pitching coach down in Corpus, a very well-respected pitching coach in the game of baseball, said he's the best prospect he's ever seen. So if that can get you excited, what can?
Right.
That is impressive.
And Matt Dominguez looks at ball 1. Well, as you've seen this succession of young talent come to the big leagues and now settle in for a while, it's a time for the fans to watch these players on an individual basis throughout an entire season and see how much progress they make from now through September, Reed.
Well, that's one of the things I always heard in the minor leagues, where people would say, hey, we love seeing the progression, especially at AA, of a guy. Mentally, it's not the physical tools once somebody gets to AA. It's how they handle failure and the travel and all the things that go into being a big league ball player, a professional ball player. And we're going to get to see a little bit of that here this year with some of these guys that are, kind of been thrown into the fire.
Did you sniff any of this coming when you first embarked on the minor league stuff you got into?
I didn't, Alan. I wanted to be in the game, and when we bought Round Rock and we started that, I just didn't have any bigger aspirations. And then when we got in and had some success, I was really worried about maybe another AAA team moving into the Austin market. And so we got proactive, and we were able to buy Edmonton. And they were trying to get the teams out of Canada, brought it down to Round Rock, moved the Round Rock Club down to Corpus. And at the time, that was, probably as high as I was on the aspiration list. And then as, things progressed a little bit with my dad being here, with, Jerry Hunsaker and Tim Purpura through the World Series in 05. I always thought, well, there may be an opportunity one day down the road. But didn't think it would be at 41 years old, to be honest with you.
So set your sights high and then wind up even higher, huh?
I guess that's it. Or you know what? I think it comes down to honor the game, do things the right way. And our success in the minor leagues has just been treating people like we want to be treated. It's that simple.
2-2. Well, your reputation, of course, is excellent through the years at Corpus and at Round Rock, and those fans keep coming back year after year, and those teams change so much from one year to the next. But at this level, as you know, there isn't usually that much change, so people get a chance to watch these same guys year after year.
Well, that's what you hope for, that you get a group like Bagwell and Biggio and all the guys that came through, and you got, guys that are fixtures in the lineup every day. But I'll say the beauty of our success up until now has really been the people that we get to work with. It's all about the staff that you get to work with. It's all about the players that you get to work with. And like I said at the press conference, I just feel like we've been caretakers of the game, and there's so many people that want to work in this game that it just makes it really nice.
Dominguez puts it in the air to left center field. Kane loping over for it. And can you stay for another half inning?
I think I can. I'll check with Gene, so let me see.
We need to talk about George Springer, among others. It's 1-1 after 2. Good time and enjoying food at the ballpark in a 1-1 game as we go to the third inning. And it's great to be able to sit here and hear from Reed Ryan after hearing all those Phil Garner stories about how you used to pilfer his gear and take it out on the loading dock at the Astrodome and put it up for sale.
Yeah,
Is that really true?
That was my brother Reese. There was a
That
little bit
wasn't
of
you.
artistic license that Phil took, and I corrected him the other day. I called him. So, but that's okay. Reese is a good egg too. And
So Reese was the businessman, all right?
he was. I was the PR guy. He was the businessman. I might have barked up some patrons for him.
So that's how Reese got to be a COO.
Yeah,
That's good.
1 ball, 1 strike. Well, we mentioned George Springer. He's, of course, one of the bright lights in this organization, leading the minor leagues now in homers with 13. He's driven in 32. He has an OPS of over 1,000. And this is one thing that people enjoy, following the progress of these top draft choices like George Springer throughout the organization.
Yeah, George takes a hack. He's not afraid to swing it, and he can create some bat speed, and he's hit some bombs down in Corpus Christi. And a couple times, the wind's either blowing out really big or blowing in really big. And the other day, the wind was just ripping in, and he hit one as far as I've seen somebody hit one into the wind. So he's got big league pop for sure.
Defensively, he can go too.
Yeah, he can. You look at him, the question's going to be how many strikeouts does he have, and what can he do? But if he can cut down on those a little bit and hit 30 home runs, I mean, he's a big league player.
I'll say of George Springer, we got to see him early on this past spring. There's one of his bombs. But I thought the first 10 days or so of camp this year that he might have been the best player in camp. He was that impressive.
Now, he reminds me a lot of Hunter Pence. He doesn't run quite as awkwardly, but he's big and, he's lean. He's got really big arms, takes a big swing.
He's got a better practice swing, I hope, right?
Yeah, doesn't dislocate the back on the practice swing.
You brought up a very interesting point about the strikeouts, because the average fan might just look at his numbers and say, why isn't this guy in AAA right now? Ooh, there's a broken bat. Watch out, Dallas Keuchel, as Altuve takes care of Gordon's grounder. That is scary. But the strikeouts are important to a major league organization trying to project a hitter at AA, saying, yes, the numbers look really good, but there are some things we can refine about his hitting.
Well, I spoke to Jeff a little bit, and obviously his plan and the guys that work with him has been to bring these guys up when they're ready, not to try to push guys, and especially these guys that have high ceilings. And he talked about it at the winter meetings. We're going to push them when they're ready. I mean, we're not going to push them. We're going to move them up when they're ready, that they feel like they've earned it, and that they can master the next level. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get that opportunity at some point during the season, because I think at this point he really has started to master AA hitting.
Mm-hmm. And that's Jeff's side of the organization, as you've been very careful to point out, with Billy Butler batting. Yours is the business side of the operation, but you're still a fan.
Well, I'm still a fan, and like I said, I'm not afraid to give my opinion, but those guys are doing a great job over there, and it's just that was one of the things that enticed me about coming over.
Thanks so much. Welcome to the organization,
Thank
Reed
you.
Ryan.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
1-1. Forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Well, an engaging ball game so far. We thank Reed Ryan for joining us. And now we go to the bottom of the third. Gonzalez, Grossman, and Altuve due up for the Astros against the veteran right-hander Jeremy Guthrie, who's won 60 and lost 78 in his career. But twice he has been a 17-game loser. That was in 2009 with Baltimore and in 2011 with Baltimore. But he's piled up the innings down through the years. And a free agent signing for 3 years, $25 million after the trade brought him to Kansas City last year, cemented his spot in the rotation this year.
He's also a guy who has led the major leagues in home runs allowed, that back in 2009.
Back one to Marwin Gonzalez at 241. He has 3 homers, 10 runs batted in. Only 34 pitches for Guthrie. Last year he was 8-12 with a 4.76 ERA. Cracked on the ground into right center field. Leadoff single from Marwin Gonzalez. And number 2 for the Astros.
Marwin's been a real steady, positive influence for this ball club this year. He hasn't torn it up with the bat, but he's done a fine job. And defensively at shortstop, I just think he continues to get the job done.
Yes. By the way, Ronnie Cedeno is feeling good again after a sinus condition. And he can play whenever the manager is ready. Robbie Grossman grounded out earlier, working that count to 2-1. Now he bunts. Salvador Perez bare hands and gets him. A good play.
Ooh, that's coming out of there very well from behind the plate. And not only just coming out of the starter blocks, Perez gets on the baseball and gets rid of it quite quickly.
Well, it was impressive to watch how quickly he moved, wasn't it?
Watch him come out. I mean, he is on this ball and then done with the baseball. Robbie Grossman does a fine job with that soft bunt. And I don't know if anybody picked it up, but that left hand slides up to within inches of the end of the bat. That's great confidence to hit the end of the bat and deaden the baseball.
Jose Altuve has the RBI chance now after the sac bunt. Throw gets away and taking off. Here's Gonzalez going to third. Very aggressive move. The ball didn't roll more than about 15-20 feet away, but he was going right when he saw that ball loose.
Yeah, you try to aggressively go after somebody and you make such a good throw that it winds up very near the leg of the runner and it gets by your infielder and just compounds problems. Most of the time you're told as a pitcher, just get the throw up around the waist, even the chest for that infielder.
Now the infield moves in. The error went to Elliott Johnson, the second baseman, who failed to catch that throw over the bag by Jeremy Guthrie. Now runner at third, 1 out, and a 1-0 count. Altuve's driven in 19. And he'll drive in number 20 with this one. A deep drive to left center field. Kane on the run with the grab. And he tucks that one in his pocket on a sac fly by Altuve. It's 2-1 Houston on the sac fly. Altuve driving in his 20th. Single, sac bunt, error, sac fly.
Little man Mateo, he is a very good major league hitter. Talking about Altuve, he's getting the job done. He got a pitch to handle and does what you're supposed to do.
That would take Reed Ryan back to the 79 Astros, maybe. Ash?
Yeah, kind of get on base, get moved over, do all the things that you were supposed to do but most teams can't do, and you score runs.
Castro looks at ball 1. Jason hit a fly ball to center earlier. This one goes to left, and maybe a very good result for Jason Castro in the boxes. Opposite field home run. Number 4 for Jason Castro into the Landry's Crawford boxes, and the Astros lead by a couple.
Well, this is what you call a really solid inning offensively for the Astros. You play small ball, you play big fly here with Castro. And that Crawford boxes area just sets up so well for Jason in that left-handed stroke.
It really does.
gets it out over the plate. I would not, if I were an opposition team, pitch him away consistently out over the plate in this ballpark. Just no way.
That's what he does with that arm extension.
So there's the big fly portion of the inning. Really a no-doubt shot.
Now Guthrie misses outside to J.D. Martinez. That brings the count to 1-1 on J.D. He bounced out to short earlier. Castro had a day off yesterday, returning strong tonight after Carlos Corberán did the catching yesterday. It's a shot foul. Jason hit a ball actually a lot better than he hit that home run when he doubled in the 11th inning Saturday night at Pittsburgh, narrowly missing a homer by about a foot and a half. And he said during BP, well, I'm not sure how much I missed it by, but it felt pretty good. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, if you wanted to put together a tape for the minor league teams to see offensively about what an inning can look like when you do things well, this would be a good inning.
Oh. A little foul ball keeps the count where it is at 2-2 on J.D. Martinez. Jason Castro last homered on the final game of the last homestand against the Texas Rangers here. So 2 homers in his last 2 home games. And that was shot on the ground. Second baseman Johnson to his right with that play. And the Astros put together a 2-run third on 2 hits. Here's Castro's long ball to make it 3-1 Houston.
One here in the 4th. Dallas Keuchel on the mound for the Stros, trying to get his first win of the season. And Dallas pitching so far the way he needs to pitch. This is not a guy who's going to overpower anybody, but so far in this game, he's doing a nice job changing speeds and hitting the targets that he has been given by Jason Castro. He has 4 strikeouts, giving up just the 1 run. And the Royals get a leadoff single by Perez, but Keuchel can pitch his way out of it. We saw him do it once already. Guys, back to you.
Yes, you got the double play ball in the first inning on Butler. Thank you, Bart. Now Hosmer comes up. He singled in the second inning in the infield. Well, Keuchel's allowed 5 hits so far. As you see, 1 run, walking 1, fanning 4, but all 5 of the hits have been singles. A couple of them really tainted, not hit well at all.
I think Keuchel's a guy who likely will give up more hits than innings pitched over his career, but he's got to find a way to get that ground ball, double plays, prevent running games. And you watch that slide step. That's, for me, the #1 absolute way out in front best way to stop the running game.
The Royals have a good running game, but Perez is not a part of that. He has not attempted a steal, and Carter's not holding him on. Big cut there by Hosmer, and it's 0-2. A guy like Keuchel can really take advantage of somebody who takes that big long swing.
Yeah, he's got the terrific changeup, and that's not going to be the only pitch to help him, but we've seen the curveball and the slider and locations. Location is always key.
Another big cut. Oh, he wraps that bat around as he strikes out. That's number 5 for Keuchel. And that's his high in an Astros game this year.
So we talk about Dallas Keuchel not being overpowering, a guy that has to get outs on the ground, and now he goes and starts striking everybody out. You have to actually caution a guy that doesn't have the strikeout stuff to be careful. This isn't who you are in the long run.
Good point. His major league high is 6 strikeouts in a game. Now Jeff Francoeur with ball 1. He singled to right field in the second inning. Oh, he was quite something when he first came to the big leagues with the Atlanta Braves. And has had a hard time keeping up to those standards offensively. 29 years old. He was a first-round pick in 2002 by the Braves. It's 1 ball, 1 strike now. Francoeur this season has 5 walks, which has always been the knock on him. He doesn't walk enough, and 32 strikeouts. Jeff last year drove in 49 runs in 561 at bats. This one a looping fly ball hit to left center field and picked up by J.D. Martinez. Well, Perez made no attempt to get to third on that one, and it's first and second, 1 out.
Time for our Steel pitch by pitch, of course, presented by Steel Dealers. First 4 Ks on the ball game for Dallas Keuchel. He picks it up with that little cutter down and in, changes speeds down and away, big breaking ball on the hands, just moving it around. And this is in a Dallas Keuchel game the way he's going to have to pick up strikeouts, always changing speed and locations.
Now Miguel Tejada. Mike Moustakas plays a lot of third base, but he is stone cold right now and a left-handed batter. So Tejada starting tonight, 0 for 1. He rocks one to left field, and that's going to reach the Landry's Crawford boxes. A 3-run homer for Miguel Tejada. And the Royals now lead it 4-3 as Tejada goes deep for the first time with Kansas City. That's his first major league homer since the 2011 season with the San Francisco Giants.
That looked like the version of Miguel Tejada that right here in this ballpark was part of the home run derby. Year was that? 04. Of course, he was the winner over Lance Berkman. This is the swing. Hit that first one of the year. I don't know if you can be anticipating driving one like that. He looked like he wanted to verify.
Now 4-3 Royals as there is ball 1 to Elliott Johnson. So for the second straight start, Dallas Keuchel victimized by a 3-run homer. And each time it was the hitter's first home run of the season. That's dribbled out to third base. Matt Dominguez quick on target throw. 2 outs.
Yeah, in that other case, Alcides, I can't remember his first name, Garcia with Detroit, his first major league dinger.
Yeah, it was, and that was a 3-run shot with 2 outs in an inning. This one coming with 1 out, but the result is that Dallas is behind by 1 as he faces Lorenzo Cain. Cain is 0 for 1 with a walk, and the Royals are dead last in homers in the American League. That's their 27th.
They also play in a pitcher favorable ballpark. Ed. That's not a haven for home runs.
No, it is not. Tejada now has hit 305 major league homers in his career. That's near the right field line, and a long run for Jimmy Paredes. Good reaching catch. Excellent play by Paredes near the right field line to end the Royals' fourth. 3-run scoring on 3 hits. Tejada goes deep to make it 4-3 Royals.
TV celebrates 11 years with new low yearly prices. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV. Baseball everywhere.
As Carter hits it in the air, foul, and that is strike one for Jeremy Guthrie. He's now been handed a 4-3 lead thanks to the 3-run long ball by Miguel Tejada. Souvenir time for that lady. Pena and Paredes to follow here in the Astros' fourth. The Royals have the edge in hits, 7-3.
Throw it back. Throw it back.
Carter started to move the bat. The appeal went down to first. Check swing call there by Jim Reynolds, and it's 1-1.
I don't think she's listening. She's posing. You poser, you. That's a good time getting that baseball.
Now that one went against Carter, and it's 1-2.
You know what? I have never understood the throw it back thing. How fans can get themselves a Major League Baseball, and because it comes from the other team, they're going to throw it back.
No, I have to agree with you.
I didn't live my life that way.
Carter strikes out. That's number 1 in the strikeout department for Guthrie. Living on the outside corner with that breaking stuff. Guthrie coming into this game and throwing his fastball 56% of the time, slider 24%. Changeup is a lot more effective pitch for him this year than it was last year. Carlos Pena doubled up the right field line into the corner in the second inning. His great career numbers against Guthrie. Here's ball 1. 346 against Jeremy with a homer and 4 runs batted in coming into this game. Paredes on deck. Of the Astros' last 14 losses, 6 have come by 1 run. So they are 3-9 in 1-run games. The Royals are also struggling to win those. They're 7-10 in 1-run decisions. Pena takes a look at it. That's ball 3. Guthrie has kept his walks down in his career very well.
Seen him at times actually get into that mid-90s range. He's been kind of 93-ish tonight, but he can go above that. He's got a very live arm.
There's a 4-pitch walk. That's a rarity for him. Second walk in the night. Let's see about the walk rate. 3.1 with Colorado last year, 2.0 since.
That helps. It goes a long ways to helping a guy. And again, he had gone 18 consecutive starts. That began last year in a Kansas City uniform. 18 starts without a loss. And the Royals If they're going to make some noise this year, they need him and James Shields and others to step up in that rotation.
Jimmy Paredes drove in a run with a ground out earlier. And this one a smash into right field. Pena to second, holding there. And here's the throw back. Well, Tremblay was holding him at second base, so he got some help from his third base coach on the single by Paredes.
Big smile, and hits have been hard to come by of late. It's a free swinger from this left side. Got a pitch up, and Jeremy Guthrie starting to get a number of pitches in that zone. That's a quick bat from the left side.
Yes, it is. And you back in ahead of that throw. And Jeff Francoeur has well over 100 Major League outfield assists in his career. Now it's Matt Dominguez. He hit a fly ball to center on a 3-2 pitch earlier. Good movement there for Guthrie, and it's strike one for him. You mentioned the 18 straight starts without a loss for Guthrie. That was the longest unbeaten streak in Royals history. Moving in past the late Paul Splittorff, who was a fine broadcaster as well as a very good pitcher. One and one.
Splittorff, a left-hander, part of some of the really good Royals teams through the years.
Yes.
George Brett, Hal McRae. Name a number of players who were just stars on those clubs.
Willie Wilson.
Yeah, he was the gifted speedster.
Frank White.
The second baseman he was.
2 balls and a strike. That was a great collection of talent, but it's been a long time for this club since the last playoff appearance. They ramped up their payroll this year. It's the highest they've ever had.
They had their own version of Jose Altuve at one time.
Freddie Patek?
Freddie Patek, your little shortstop. Had a great arm.
How about the closer, Dan Quisenberry?
Yeah. They had all the components. That Yost, not a part of that batch.
There's a shot to left field. They're ready again for another souvenir and another 3-run homer. Matt Dominguez finds the Landry's Crawford boxes, and the Astros leapfrog in front again. It's 6-4 Houston in the fourth.
Put your armor on tonight. It looks like it might be one of those ball games. And Jeremy Guthrie, who came in having allowed 11 home runs to lead the league most, has given up a pair tonight. And we're seeing the long ball bats on both sides. They got that pitch up that we were just talking about. And the thing is, you have to know what to do with it when you get it. And Matt Dominguez is starting to figure that out.
Boy. Right under the chart house. And the fish are jumping. Dominguez with number 4 now. He has 21 runs batted in. Marwin Gonzalez is next. He bunts and fouls it for strike one. That's 2 long balls for the Astros tonight, giving them 44 for the year. Matt hit a 3-1 pitch. 13 homers allowed, tied for most in the majors with Matt Cain, surprisingly. Popped up. Third baseman over. Tejada on the mound. 2 outs.
Log on to CSNHouston.com and click on In-Game Live to enhance your Astros experience via computer, smartphone, or tablet. Get in-depth stats and join the social buzz. In-Game Live only on CSNHouston.com.
Happy moment over there for Matt Dominguez after giving the Astros a 6-4 lead. What a 4th inning. 2 3-run homers, both sailing into the Landry's Crawford boxes. So those patrons are being kept supplied tonight. There's strike one on Grossman, who's put down a sac bunt after grounding out. There's a parallel inning here. Both 3-run homers by the number 8 hitters and both third basemen, Tejada and Dominguez.
A couple of up-and-comers.
This has the makings of a wild one. Ground ball hit through the left side. Robbie Grossman got his hands out in front And on the 0-2 pitch, found a good landing spot for that ground ball.
It's a nice little stroke for a guy like Robbie Grossman, where you swing down through the baseball, sting it a bit, and put it on the ground, give yourself a chance. Hitting it the other way really gives Robbie a chance batting left-handed. Right-handed, he has shown more pop. That would go a long way helping him out.
Looked like he kept his balance well on that swing, Ash.
Maybe didn't juice it right on the barrel, but again, hitting it the other way, I think could serve him a real good course of base hits going to left field.
Well, you know, a guy like him, it's drilled into those types of players, left-handed hitter, speedy, hit the ball on the ground to the left side. That was in the dirt to Altuve for ball one. Hit the ball through center both times. It's 2-0.
Well, I'm going to guess during the 18-game span without losing a game, Jeremy Guthrie wasn't leaving a lot of pitches like tonight up in the strike zone.
Probably so. He had a 2.82 ERA when this game started. Bounce to shortstop. Escobar with the toss. And to Elliott Johnson to get the forced play. Matt Dominguez. They call him Domingo. Domingo goes deep to give the Astros the lead. 6-4.
Matt Dominguez home run, and it's time for our AT&T tweet of the game, and it comes from Julia Morales, who is missing tonight, as you might imagine. I'm not Julia Morales. She's taking some time off, but before leaving, she tweeted that Pittsburgh fans are fun. She was out there riding around the boat with the Pirates fans and then decided that was too much work. She needed some time off. So we hope she's having fun. Back to you guys up in the booth.
She's in the very essence of Pirates. They're waterbound. Probably trying to pick up something to eat.
Bart, I know Julia Morales, and you are no Julia Morales.
Not even close, Ash. And that's what everybody around here is telling me, too. They're reminding me.
The players are glad to see you, I'll bet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow you just couldn't find that green polka dotted dress to pull out of your closet for this game tonight, though, Bart. Escobar struck out.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Dominguez throws to first on the broken back grounder.
Brownie, he told me he actually found it.
Oh, he did. But Bart, now
I'm actually wearing it under my suit.
Okay, so you're back from the Rockets wars, and that was kind of an interesting finish to their season.
Yeah, it actually ended up being a terrific season. The James Harden trade pretty much changed everything, and they ended up being a pretty entertaining team to watch, and now they're just maybe a piece or two away from being a legitimate title contender. So, yeah, it was a fun season, and Kevin McHale and his staff did a great job with that team.
You're doing a nice job with that donut burger there, by the way.
Yeah. Alex Gordon, the batter. There's ball one. Gordon 1 for 2. He singled to left in the first inning to extend his hitting streak to 8 games. Grossman shading him to right center. He pulls it foul. That's Rusty Kuntz, former Astros coach. 1-1. Well, so it's old home week for several people in Royals uniforms. Rusty back in Houston, as well as the bullpen coach Doug Henry, former Astro reliever in the late 90s. And of course Miguel Tejada. Breaking pitch, and Gordon didn't chase it. It's a 2-ball, 1-strike count.
By the way, one thing to watch for maybe in this series, late in the ball game, with Alex Gordon, left-hand hitter, coming to the plate in a big scenario, do you bring on lefty to face him? His numbers say you don't. He has been tremendous against the southpaws.
Yeah. Gordon was leading off, and he led off for 30 of the first 40 games. But he switched to the number 3 spot May 9th. Since then, he's hit .450, so he'll probably stay here. Now Dominguez moving to his left. He is far off the third base line. And Gordon calls time and backs away. About 2 weeks ago, in a 3-game series against Baltimore, Gordon hit homers in each of the 3 games. That's in for a strike. 3-2 now. There are those, including Alan Ashby, who think that Alex looks at the plate similar to George Brett.
What I think is when he swings, he's got that one-armed extension and can drive the ball. There's a moment there right at and after impact that can look a lot like George to me.
Well, it's probably inbred in him. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska. Went to the University of Nebraska. Grew up a Kansas City fan. And his younger brother Brett is named for George Brett. Alex Gordon's father played baseball for the Cornhuskers as well.
Yeah, that stance is nothing at all like George. But once he gets through the hitting zone, there's quite a similarity for me.
Oh, another similarity with Brett is a lot of doubles. He hit 51 of those last year to lead the American League. And takes a walk.
We've got our Geico quote of the day, and speaking of George Brett, I probably watch it at least once a year with my boys. They just want to watch the aftermath when the umpire threw me out. That's from George Brett. I think what the kids really want to do is see that dad is misbehaving, and so that they've got a little bit of ammunition to use. Is George misbehaving right there?
Well,
I'd say so.
Understandable, though.
But he wins out in the end. He gets the dinger.
That was overruled later on. A couple weeks later. Billy Butler, the batter. The home run was initially denied upon that protest by Billy Martin that there was too much pine tar on the bat. The umpires overruled the homer. That's why Brett was upset. But then a couple of weeks later, the American League commissioner ruled that the home run stood. And the game was then replayed from that point on.
I wonder if the commissioner got charged by George, and that led to that decision.
That was an unusual ruling, wasn't it? So 2-out, 2-run homer off Goose Gossage in the top of the 9th inning. Tim McClellan called Brett out. After Billy Martin protested, the call later overruled by Lee McPhail. And the Royals went on to win it 5-4.
Thing is, the bat actually broke the rules with that pine tar extended too far.
So why did they allow?
I don't know. I just don't have an answer for you. I think common sense probably came in. It was a big swing for KC.
Butler fouls it back, and he's late on the 2-0 pitch.
I have a feeling if a few of the other players, maybe one here in the booth included at that time, had hit that home run and had the bat like that, maybe the call might have stood. Sometimes it doesn't hurt having a big star get involved in a play like that.
That's true.
No, I'm not talking about Tim McClellan. I'm talking about George.
When you guys go to Kansas City, you guys being you and Julia and Jeff Blum, our other traveling party.
So you've already decided you're not going?
Yeah. But it's a fine place. Julia can check out Billy's barbecue sauce. Billy Butler. And it's to benefit Butler's Hit It a Ton Foundation, which donates food to area shelters for every home run he hits.
Made to his specific taste?
Yes, so. Inside, and now back-to-back walks have Keuchel moving along to Salvador Perez in a troublesome situation. Here's the story on that Lee McPhail ruling. The spirit of the restriction on pine tar on bats was based not on the fear of unfair advantage, but simple economics. Any contact with pine tar would discolor the ball, render it unsuitable for play, and require that it be discarded and replaced. So they didn't want to replace more baseballs. But he did not violate the spirit of the rules.
I see.
Okay. It's that simple.
Guy fouls off 10 baseballs in one at bat, and we're okay there. Just don't get any pine tar on one of them.
Exactly. Salvador Perez now, a dangerous hitter. He is 1 for 2 in this game. The Royals signed him to a 5-year contract through 2016. And that was before last season, but then he hurt that left knee in spring training. So it cut him down to about a half a year with a big league club last year. This could be his real coming out year. He's listed at 6'3", 245. And as we saw, he has pretty good movement behind the plate. Hosmer's on deck. Perez takes it. It's ball 1. Justin Maxwell's working his way back. He hit 15 balls off a tee and took 30 soft tosses today. May not be too far from returning to the Astros, but usually there's some minor league rehab time involved. Bouncer to second. There's the toss for Altuve. Gonzalez, the middleman. It's a 4-6-3 double play. That's the second of the game for Keuchel, and it keeps the Astros in the lead. After 4.5, they're up 6-4.
Insurance fan of the game. Now, on that Matt Dominguez monster home run out here into the Crawford boxes, it hit hard out here, rattled around quite a bit, went back onto the field. Alex Gordon picked it up, threw it back up into the Crawford boxes, where it was caught by Clint Sparks. Nice catch.
Well, thank you.
Nice catch for a ball that really wasn't off the bat.
No, I'm just taller than everybody else.
Well, that counts for something. Now, you didn't keep the ball because somebody down here was calling for it, so you threw it down to them. Why is that?
Somebody hollered at me for it. I got a lot of baseballs.
Yeah, show the folks your bag full of baseballs here. Hold it up. Look at that. He's got a bag full of... This guy is a Crawford box ball hawk out here. So he tosses one down here. How would that go for you?
I went pretty good. I caught it. Yeah.
All right, show us the bag one more time. All right? This guy sits out here catching home run balls, and he's got, how many do you have?
Maybe 8 or 10.
Looks like about 8. Yeah, so he gave one up. A couple of them are signed. He gave one up to Brandon down there. So for that spirit of camaraderie and teamwork out here in the Crawford boxes, he is our Progressive Insurance fan of the game. Congratulations. Well done. Can I have one of those balls? He's not going to give me one.
No.
I bet he'd give Julia one. Back to you guys.
Don't beg, Bart.
I'm begging. Can I please have a ball? You want me to grab one? All right.
So the guy brings a bag to the ballpark so he can get baseballs, but gives one away that was hit there in the game, huh?
Yeah. That's a very charitable man.
The gift of giving.
Jason Castro has a 2-2 pitch coming, and that's strike 3 for Jeremy Guthrie. Strikeout number 2.
Royals altered things a bit. They're working hard in on Jason Castro, and I would expect all ball clubs to do that to some good degree here at Minute Maid Park.
You and Jeff Blum talked about that on the road, and it does seem that the patterns are changing, and that's the usual case in a long season. J.D. Martinez has grounded out twice. That's in the air, and here comes Hosmer for it over in front of the Astros bench. Perez sliding, and he bangs into that railing. Well, Perez went in hard. It looked like he may have run up against that rail at the bottom there, and that doesn't budge.
See what he does here. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, he actually hits that padded area on the hip, and I guess that's where he's ultimately hurting, but padded or not, that's solid stuff.
It really is.
Yeah, that's really going hard into that railing, the upright railing.
He does get out well from behind the plate, doesn't he?
He's quick.
He went in pretty hard. May have tweaked that right hip and reached down for it.
It's lucky he didn't turn an ankle real hard as he went into that netting initially.
No balls and a strike for J.D. Martinez. Chris Carter's on deck. 6-4 Astros in the 5th. Guthrie misses with the curve. That makes it 1-1. Guthrie was pitcher number 3 in the Royals rotation to start the season. Their last 2 opening day starters prior to this year, James Guthrie with James Shields, rather, 1 and 2, were Luke Hochevar in 2011 and Bruce Chen in 2012. And both of them are in the bullpen, so that shows you what they've done to address a stronger starting rotation this year. That's a jam shot left field and going into the seats. But James Shields, as you mentioned earlier, Ash, a big time addition, along with Guthrie coming back this season, and Wade Davis also was obtained along with James Shields in that deal with Tampa Bay for the top prospect Will Myers and Jake Odorizzi.
When the Royals went out and got James Shields, I thought that was kind of an indicator that they were telling their fans and everybody, hey, look, we're going to give it our best effort right now, because he is a front of the rotation guy. Pitched very well in Tampa Bay for Joe Madden for years. Terrific changeup.
The guy who really racks up innings. That gets him that front of the rotation status you talked about. Ground ball to second, sharply hit to Elliott Johnson. Out number 2. That was an indicator that Dayton Moore, the general manager, is ready to go for it. And he also traded for Irvin Santana. Santana through 8 starts has a 2.77 ERA. So the guys he acquired in his starting rotation have made him look good. They have the 4th best starters ERA in the American League, 3.72, but they're only 14 and 14 because of, in part, a lack of run support. Now Chris Carter fouls it away. There's strike one.
Funny how it goes, and we talked about it earlier in the ball game, but in recent years, Kansas City's young hitters would put up some tremendous numbers, especially early on in the seasons. And here they expected they'd get the offense. It has tailed off a bit, and the pitching has been quite good.
1-1. Well, Kansas City was thought by some to be a dark horse to win this AL Central, but right now Cleveland is a surprise team, with Detroit strong again this year.
Can a manager, and I'm talking about Terry Francona, make that kind of a difference for the Indians?
Hard to say. I think it can change the tone in an organization for a manager like Francona, who's well established, to come in. Guthrie missed, and it's 2-2.
Yeah, I think it does. I think the players come to camp right away thinking, this is different than maybe it's been thought of here with a particular club for years.
3-2 now to Carter. Cleveland won again today in 10 innings, 10-8 over Seattle in Cleveland.
Carter may have just gotten away with a strike.
He rips that one, and he took advantage if he did. Driving a single through the third and shortstop hole to get him aboard for the second time.
Kevin Eschenfelder brings the heat with special guests and in-depth analysis on Sports Talk Live every night at 5 p.m. only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Carter's aboard. Now the Astros leading 6-4, have even the hit totals at 7. And Carlos Pena has a double and a walk. He scored a run on the 3-run homer by Matt Dominguez in the 4th when the Astros took that 6-4 lead. In tight for ball 1. Toronto beat Tampa Bay today, 7-5 in Toronto. R.A. Dickey winning for the 4th time against 5 losses.
Toronto, the only team in the American League East without a winning record.
2-0. Elliott Johnson is pretty far out into right field here on the shift with Pena batting. And now Jeff Francoeur is going to get right behind him in the I formation. Wonder if they'll drop into the pistol next. In tight. 3 balls, no strikes to Pena.
Student body right field, I guess, huh?
There's a whole lot of room on the left side of that infield. Miguel Tejada's back at his familiar position of shortstop right now. He won't feel out of place.
Got to be happy that Ned Yost lets him play at short, huh?
This one gets away now. Carter will not advance. He saw Hosmer going for it, and he just didn't want to risk it. 2 outs in the inning.
Fun. Jeremy Guthrie, I'm probably questioning whether I want to throw to one of my infielders in this game.
Yeah, right.
Already had a toss to second base that got by.
It looked like Carter was asking Dave Clark, should I have gone, and Dave was shaking his head no.
Are you kidding? Have you watched yourself run?
That's ball 4 to Pena. First and second for Jimmy Paredes with 2 outs. Walk number 3 for Guthrie. J.C. Gutierrez is warming up in the bullpen. He used to be known as Juan Gutierrez when he was in the Astros organization. And now a conference at the mound, and we'll check the pitch count on Guthrie. It's at 89. Gutierrez on the left. And there's Doug Henry, the former Astro reliever, on the right.
It's in good shape.
He had been in the minor leagues and got promoted to the Royals Major League Club this season. Now Guthrie shut out the White Sox earlier this season. That's his 1 complete game of his first 8 starts. This one not going nearly as well. It's more in the category of his last start Tuesday against the Angels. That was a loss in which he allowed 11 hits and 5 runs in 7 innings. 2 outs for Paredes, who has an RBI and a ground out and a single, and fouls this one for strike 1. The Astros coming into this game had hit .230 as a team at home this year. Their record at home and on the road identical, 6-16. No balls, 2 strikes. They'd like this to be the homestand to begin to get a feel of more of a home field advantage. They'll be playing Oakland over the weekend and then a 2-game series with Colorado Monday and Tuesday. It's 1-2. Big Bayou Bash coming up Saturday, and that'll be the first of 4 consecutive day games. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all day games.
You need a wake-up call?
Yeah, I think we will, won't we? Put the coffee on. That's unusual to have a Tuesday afternoon game, but that is getaway day for the Astros, and they're headed for Colorado. They have those back-to-back 2-game series with the Rockies, so 4 games in a row, but 2 in each location.
I don't know that I've ever been involved in that kind of a back-to-back series matchup before. Kind of unique.
I think this is the first year for these teams all around baseball to be doing that. 2-2. A lot of teams will be playing that similar schedule. Home and home, 2 games each. Part of the new 15-team league in both leagues. 1 pitch away from going full and having the runners move. Guthrie will make this delivery to Paredes. And it is going to be a 3-2 coming next.
Guthrie's been trying to work his fastball in on some hitters and just missing as he tries to come in, then tries to come back with the changeup. Couldn't induce the swing.
Dominguez on deck. 7th 3-ball count of the game for Guthrie. He's at 95 pitches. Runners move, and it's a shot into left field. Here's Carter coming home, and the throw to the plate from Gordon is there to Perez, and Perez tags him out. Perez just standing there and acting as if he wouldn't have a play, and then he slapped that quick tag on Carter. Then he turned around to look at Carter after Carter went tumbling when he crossed the plate. So that ends it here in the 5th, and it's no runs, 2 hits, 2 men left for the Astros. 6-4 Houston.
A 6-4 lead. Hey, we want to remind you to tune in to Chevy Hometown Kids every Saturday morning at 9:30 on CSN. Chevy Hometown Kids, where it's not about the score, it's about the experience. Now back to the booth. Browning and Ash, guys.
Well, that was a different experience at home plate, certainly for Chris Carter. Looked as if Salvador Perez might have been trying to deke him. And then he might have stepped on the plate before he was actually tagged.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think you nailed it on the button, Brownie. That tag goes kind of between the legs. A bit of a whiff initially, and I think Carter did get the foot on the plate. Awfully tough play to call, because if you're looking at it from the umpire's perspective, does this glove make contact initially? You might feel like it did, but as reality shows itself, Carter was safe on the play in my assessment.
An interesting call, not one that's often seen here.
Now there's that deke, and you hope to get the guy to stand up rather than slide. The tag initially whiffs and then drops Chris Carter.
Perez was just standing there, kind of relaxed at home plate, and that might have led Carter to think he wasn't going to be making a play on him. So apparently Perez just stole a call there to keep the score at 6-4, and the count's 2-2 here on Hosmer. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Not sure why Chris Carter was not sliding. Matt Dominguez is telling him from behind to get down, but Chris stays on his feet for a while.
There's a shot into center field. Hosmer drilled that one for a leadoff single here in the 6th inning on a 3-2 pitch. And the Royals, trailing by 2, get Francoeur to the plate.
Well, on the 3-2, when you look fastball and you get fastball and it's below 90 miles an hour and up in the strike zone, you should hit it hard. That's exactly what happens. Even lefty on lefty. That's one that most left-hand hitters, I think, would put the barrel on the ball with.
Francoeur has 2 singles in this game. One went to right, the other to left center. Ground ball here. Dominguez falls, gets it to second, and then Altuve to first. What a spectacular double play.
This is unbelievable, both by Dominguez and Altuve. And this turn, we were just in Pittsburgh, and they were featuring Bill Mazeroski in the turn. You don't do it better than this. Look at this play on this end. That's something. But watch this. Just coming across the base. Get rid of the ball. Amazing stuff. That is really well done. Dallas Keuchel should have taken the glove off and applauded.
That is outstanding work, and the 3rd double play of the game for the Astros. Their 60th of the year, which leads the majors. Strike to Tejada, and important in cleaning up the action on the bases. So Tejada, who hit the 3-run homer last time up, doesn't have anybody on.
No, usually when you spin that third baseman around like this on that left side, you're just not going to get the double play. You get that force out at second base if the guy's not going from first. But Altuve just takes this throw and turns mastery out of the play.
He really did. And just thinking about the timing of it from Altuve's standpoint, Dominguez left his feet, so that kind of threw the initial timing off.
Just come on across. You know the runner's bearing down, and cut off or send off a good throw so quickly.
That's in for a strike. That's 2-2 on Tejada, and such an accurate throw from a player who had fallen down and gotten up. Sometimes that's when the wild throw follows.
Yeah, there's a couple of young men that are well ahead of their years defensively.
Ground ball, and this one's easy for Dominguez. It's a boring 5-3 play. No runs, 1 hit, and it's Matt Dominguez to his left, foot sliding, but starting a double play. Miller Lite bottle coming soon to a bar near you. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. A little action there as the Royals and Astros are at 6-4. Folks moving around a little bit. Maybe this game, which has included a couple of 3-run homers in the 4th inning, has people wanting to stretch a little bit early.
Well, they might be trying to come out of their seats, take a throw, and move into the next row while completing the throw for the double play onto first base after watching Altuve.
Exactly. Here's the former Astro, now known as J.C. Gutierrez. He used to be known as Juan Gutierrez.
Anything for improving the numbers.
Oh, sure. It's worth a name change to get a lower ERA if that goes hand in hand. Others have tried it. It doesn't always work. 5 innings of work for Guthrie, 96 pitches. And he throws those 5 innings, allowing 8 hits and 6 runs. He walks 3 and he strikes out 2. Turning it over now to Gutierrez against Matt Dominguez, who has a 3-run homer in 2 trips. With ball 1.
Gutierrez, Venezuelan born, 29 years of age. 5 years in the big leagues.
Yeah, he had just a portion of a year in 07 when he first came up with Houston. That's the only time he has spent in a Houston uniform. Sails that one back. And it's 2-0. Guthrie with those crooked numbers, with a higher ERA than what he brought into this game. So his last 2 starts have not been anything he would want to write home about, certainly.
And they put a punishing on his numbers overall.
This is a good rotation. Gutierrez can make that play or that one. And he had 2 chances to get Dominguez, but they'll only give him 1 error.
Gonzalez had a taste of that on the road trip in Pittsburgh. That was the ball game where the pop fly wound up dropping and the Astros lost, but what a job he did in the end. Yeah, this is just haste getting in the way of making the play.
Well, let's make it a base hit. Matt Dominguez will welcome that.
I'm not sure that you have much option to call that otherwise at that point, do you?
Probably not, because he did have to reach back to his right. Now Marwin Gonzalez, he's 1 for 2. Marwin looks at it, it's strike 1.
Well, that's a good looking arm.
Yep.
When you see that fastball plane out like that, where it just looks like it holds a dart like line to the plate, you know something special is going on.
He has 152 strikeouts in 167 major league innings coming into this year. Marwin grounds back to him. This play is a 1-6-3. No double play. Hosmer couldn't catch it, so no double play. It looked like routine, but it was anything but, as the throw from Escobar was offline to Hosmer.
I have to say, for Gutierrez, he set up the double play possibility as perfectly as you can do it. Put something on the throw to second. Watch when he gets rid of the baseball. He doesn't just lob one, he puts it there. And Escobar, who has a very good arm, just has to get away. That right there is an automatic double play in most cases.
But Hosmer couldn't corral the throw. No error, because a double play cannot be presumed. But, you know, that one, when that throw goes to second base to the shortstop there, as you pointed out, that's as sure as anything, as sure as the Ryan family eating beef, that this is going to be a double play, and it simply did not happen.
What kind of beef?
Oh, any kind of beef.
Well, I thought maybe they might go Nolan Ryan.
That might be a good way to start it. Bobby Grossman is next. He's 1 for 2 with a sack. Pitch out. All 1 to Robbie. Marwin Gonzalez is 4 for 5 in steals. Perez has thrown out 7 of 22 this year. That's 32% for Salvador. Now it's 2 balls, no strikes. is a new catcher in the game. George Gutierrez has replaced Salvador Perez, so apparently he injured his leg on that play over by the Astros dugout.
Royals have to be holding their breath there collectively because he has done a whale of a job with the bat, certainly for Kansas City this season. Perez is a solid catcher.
Gutierrez has hit well in the past, but this year he is 2 for 15, so very little playing time for George. Grossman takes a 4-pitch walk. Robbie's thrown 14 of those.
Create memories, save money, and have fun with the Astros and baseball here at the ballpark. No matter what your special event will create an experience your group is sure to remember. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit Astros.com to find out more.
Folks up in the suites, they are watching a 6-4 ball game, or not. Maybe just enjoying some food.
Baseball in the background is the soundtrack of their lives.
Somebody told them they're on TV. Now Jose Altuve, now that they're watching, we'll try to get a hit for him. He's 0 for 2 with a sac fly. Fouled away, strike one. Well, it's unfair to say they weren't watching just because they were turned away. They have TV monitors all over that suite.
Have you seen the mirrors in that place?
No.
They can watch from any angle.
Jason Castro's on deck. Good place to watch a ball game. It's been a busy day for Reed Ryan. First real day on the job, so to speak. He was named at the press conference on Thursday, but now with the team back home, first game day opportunity for Reed, and he'll be out and about. You'll be seeing him out in the community quite a lot.
How about the buzz Reed Ryan has created just immediately here in Houston?
Yeah.
And even nationally.
That's rolled up the middle. Escobar steps on the bag, throws low, and dug out by Hosmer. And now it's a safe call at second base. So they did not get the double play, and he was sure that he tagged it. And James Hoy gave the safe sign on Robbie Grossman at second base there. And Ned Yost is coming out.
Sure looked like he tagged it. And Kansas City's players do not appear to be bluffing. They felt like the bag was gotten here, but it's not a reviewable play.
No.
And a lot of people are making a cry now to be able to come up with a way to make things a little more sure. There's an obvious tag of the bag and just a missed call. And there's no other way around it. I think if you have replay right there, you're going to call that a double play.
James Hoy explaining his call to Ned Yost. But as you've indicated, Ash, it is not a reviewable play, and Yost is really irate about that. Double play ends the inning. And now runners at second and third. The inning continues with Castro coming up at 2 outs.
Now, one guy I'll tell you, Ned Yost probably has the worst seat in the house to be able to see if the bag was actually tagged right here. But you rely on your players, and when they tell you, Skip, hey, we got this one, that's when the manager will start to air out the umpire.
James Hoy was on the inside of the bag. Escobar touched the outside of the bag. That is difficult for him to see, but it's his call.
I'll tell you where this could have gone horribly wrong is if Dave Tremblay, the third base coach, had just, on what was presumed to be an inning-ending double play, just allowed Marwin Gonzalez to move on toward the plate, and he had gotten thrown out.
Oh! Jason Castro, the batter, he has a homer in 3 trips. In tight, ball 1.
Third base coach has a lot of responsibility on him. Dave Tremblay is a man about town in terms of Major League Baseball. He has been around.
Dave wants Robbie Grossman to take a little bit bigger lead at second. 2 outs in the inning. Gutierrez has been errant with both of these first 2 pitches to Castro, inside and now outside. 3 balls, no strikes. After coming up with the Astros, Juan was then traded to Arizona after the 07 season, along with Chad Qualls and Chris Burke for Jose Valverde. Valverde served the Astros well. It's 3-0. Gutierrez for a while was the closer for Arizona. In 2010 he had 15 saves and 17 tries, but since then he's had a hard time staying healthy and productive. He was on the 60-day disabled list with right shoulder inflammation in 2011. They're going to put him on, aren't they?
I was just going to say, he's got a closer's arm. There's no question there. Sorry for dancing in your space.
Not a problem. You're allowed in your space anytime, Paul. Especially if you can dance.
Bad lows, and I can't. We never stop improving, and neither does J.D. Martinez. Let's see what J.D. has going on here. Last road trip, he was a hot guy. 6 for 18. 333 the batting average. Previous 7 games obviously cold, and so he would love to stay hot now as he comes back home.
Well, he's hit the ball on the ground all 3 times so far. Now Gutierrez, who fell behind Castro quickly after walking Grossman, will be looking for strike 1. Fly ball right field. Francoeur backing on it to end the Astros 6th with no runs. There was a hit, and there were 3 men left. And after 6, it's 6-4. The Chipotle Chicken Club Combo. It's back for a limited time at Jack in the Box. Try one today with fries and a drink for just $4.99 plus tax. Interesting game tonight. Through 6, it's 6-4 Houston. A battle of 3-run homers in that 4th inning. Now Robbie Grossman moves from center field to left field. Brandon Barnes comes in the game to center field, and he replaces J.D. Martinez, who was 0 for 4 as the left fielder. And J.D. made that final out here in the 6th inning. So at this point, after 6 innings, Bull Porter goes with his defensive team, so to speak, in the outfield and tries to protect this 2-run lead with Dallas Keuchel coming out for the 7th.
Bo, like many managers, has talked about offense early, defense late, and Brandon Barnes just continues to prove himself as an outstanding center fielder and a very fine throwing outfielder.
Dave Clark positioning those outfielders, and the first pitch is ball 1.
Jason Castro had that flinch that I think we all get when we watch a pitch like that not being called a strike.
Yeah. Elliott Johnson rips a line drive, and Grossman is there. Whoa, looked like the lights may have been a problem for Robbie after just moving over from center. One pretty well hit for out number 1.
And I bet Robbie's thinking to himself at some point, what? And people say the corner outfielders have the easier job. Put me back in center in a heartbeat. You don't deal with those lights.
True. Different perspective, different lighting.
It's a nice play staying with it. Yeah, you pick up the baseball out of those lights. That's tough.
Lorenzo Kane is the name, and there's ball one. He's 0-for-2 with a walk.
Of course, I didn't mean you, Brownie.
No, well,
because I know you could make that play.
You know, you put any average person out there. We all watch on TV. Well, I could catch that fly ball. All right. Let's try that.
Challenging game, and
let's try that.
It gets tough when you get down there on the field.
1 ball and 1 strike to Kane. Can you really? Can you hit a major league pitch?
Well, there's plenty of professional athletes would love to get that chance to step to home plate and see what it's all about. And we've seen many step in during batting practice, and it doesn't quite look like the same game.
Paul Clemens and Wesley Wright are at work. With Dennis Martinez, the bullpen coach, watching. Inside for Keuchel. Luke Hochevar working for Kansas City. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ooh, Kane is down on strikes. Good work by Keuchel.
You never know what you might win, but here's how you can try. Just watch Sportsnet Central every night in the month of May at 10 p.m. or after the game to learn our word of the night. Then log on to CSNHouston.com for a chance to win cash prizes and more. Play Words on CSN every night in May.
You do not know the words tonight, do you?
No, I do not.
Nobody knows.
Do you know?
Nope. Alcides Escobar fouls it back.
All these years, I thought you were the shadow.
They might be Alan Ashby. Salvador Perez left with right hip pain as he tried to make that sliding catch on the foul ball over by the Astros dugout. It seemed that would be a problem for him, and he left shortly after that. 1 ball, 1 strike. Remember, several years ago, Tony Eusebio flipped over that railing.
Yes.
And he went head first, headed for the concrete floor.
I was still here at the time.
That's true.
Hard Tony.
That's not what you're thinking about when you talk about head first. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That changes perspective a bit.
In interleague play, the Royals were 13-17 against the Astros. 7-5 here at Minute Maid Park. Top foul, still 1-2, and Keuchel's into bonus time, but he's thrown 88 pitches. He's been efficient with those 3 double play balls. The Royals have left 4. The Astros have stranded 7 tonight. Dallas Keuchel going for his first win of the season. He pitched very well here against Texas May 10th. 6 innings, 2 runs, got a no decision, got 13 ground ball outs in that one. 2-2. Guys like Harrell and Keuchel, who can get the ground ball outs, are playing into the strength of this Astros defensive team.
Lucas Harrell was a ground ball producing machine yesterday.
Such a nice adjustment he made in that bullpen session you and Jeff Blum talked about. Getting the hand out of the glove a little bit earlier with pitching coach Doug Brocail. That led to apparently a lot more movement, and it was working very well for Lucas Harrell.
Well, he got the ball down a lot more consistently. I know that.
Into right field, and a hit for Escobar. Keeps the inning alive for the Royals with Gordon coming up. It's just simply a matter of how much is left in the tank for Dallas Keuchel. That's the major decision Doug Brocail and skipper Bo Porter have to evaluate here. Their bullpen is ready to go. And the call goes out, maybe to check on Paul Clemens and Wesley Wright.
Well, we're kind of looking at that scenario that I was talking about. Do you leave in or call in a lefty to face Alex Gordon late in the ball game? And Bo Porter's going to stay with the lefty for this cause, but if you look at the numbers, Alex Gordon is far better this year against left-hand pitching than against right.
Tonight against this left-hander, he has singled in and then grounded out and then walked. 1-0 to Gordon. Breakdown 429 against left-handers with 3 long balls.
You can add to that with that first inning single.
Gordon lines one up the right field line. That's foul.
What Bloomberg has to say about Alex Gordon and where he hits the baseball. When he puts it in the air, everything is fair play. When he puts it on the ground, primarily on the right side, but he will shoot some on the left side from shortstop on toward the line. Not a whole lot of balls up the middle, and for me that's a bit surprising.
The Astros are not over shifting on him. He hit the ball on the ground in the 3rd inning to Altuve. They've adjusted a little bit, but not the way we've seen them against a lot of left-handed pull hitters this year. It's a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Well, Gordon is making an early bid for his first career All-Star appearance. Had a 4-hit game yesterday. That was the 9th of his career. Again, the 9th, 3rd in batting average in the American League at .343. He's a 2-time Gold Glover. He takes that one, and it's ball 3. Big pitch coming for Keuchel, leading by 2 with the tying run at the plate. And Billy Butler on deck, so it's quite conceivable that this is Dallas's last hitter of the night.
Gordon just doesn't budge against the left-hander.
Gordon takes a walk, and now 1st and 2nd, 2 out for Butler. It's walk number 4. And Bo Porter is going to make the next walk.
It was interesting. Bo signaled to the home plate umpire just as he came out of the dugout, and I don't know what that might have been about.
Looked like he was simply calling time, but maybe the home plate umpire was looking down, and that's why he tried to get his attention that way. That's going to be the move. Dallas Keuchel leaving this game after 96 pitches, in a position for his first win as an Astro this year after winning 3 last year. The fans really appreciative of Keuchel battling tonight. He's had constant traffic. He had a 1-2-3 inning in the 3rd. That's the only one of those he's had all night. He leaves with a 6-4 lead and 2 men on base, and we'll be right back.
The Astros will continue the series against these Kansas City Royals tomorrow and Wednesday. And this 8-game homestand will also feature matchups against the Oakland A's and Colorado Rockies. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or go to Astros.com to get your tickets right now. Brownie, back to you.
Thank you, Bart. Good to have you with us tonight. Dallas Keuchel has done a solid job. 6 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 4 runs. He's regrouped after allowing the 3-run homer in the 4th to Miguel Tejada. Ash.
Really did, and I thought he again now his 3rd start of the year, a 3rd credible start. I think in the back end of the rotation he gives the Astros a nice chance.
He gives way to right-hander Paul Clemens in his rookie season. He has had some very fine performances. He's 1-1 with an ERA of 4 and a WHIP of 1.04. Been hard to hit. 21 hits in 27 innings, walking 7, fanning 19. So just a shade over 1 base runner per inning. That is outstanding. And his last outing was Friday at Pittsburgh. He worked 1 scoreless inning in that one. Last Monday at Detroit, he worked 3 scoreless innings, did not give up a hit. Now he inherits 2 runners. He's inherited 6 runners. Only 1 has scored this year, but it's Billy Butler, always dangerous at the plate. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. One hopper backhanded, and Gonzalez gets it to Altuve. 1 pitch, and Clemens gets the Astros out of the 7th inning. No runs a hit, 2 men left, 6-4 Houston. Up right after this one, a lot coming yet tonight right here on this station. Meanwhile, Orbit having some fun as Luke Hochevar warms up. Hochevar with no decisions, an ERA of 1.17, is having quite a year of it with that WHIP of 0.85.
Well, they've been counting on him for a long time. He's a former #1 pick, #1 overall. That WHIP, as you mentioned, Brownie, would indicate right away that he's had great success to this point. This was an arm, and is an arm, that the Royals thought was going to be very special at one time, and now out of the bullpen rather than as a starter, it's turning out to be that way.
This Kansas City bullpen has been among the best around with a 3.07 ERA. That's 3rd best in the American League. Recently with some blown saves, Hochevar, who had been in that rotation last year, was 8-16 with a 5.73 ERA and 32 starts, and now just trying to keep this game within reach for Kansas City as he enters and faces Chris Carter in the 7th. Carter hits it out of play. There's strike 1. Carter's been on twice with a walk and a single.
Yeah, you mentioned the 32 starts a year ago, 31 the previous season. So a real workhorse as a starter, but the ERAs would indicate that he wasn't overly successful. Now working out of the bullpen, just a complete turnaround. Of course, only 15 in the 3rd innings to this point. Long season still to go.
100 innings pitched for the Royals bullpen, fewest in the majors. Well, they've bolstered their rotation, and that has really paid off.
Sounds like Ned Yost, a former catcher, the current manager for the Royals, probably has that Larry Dierker mentality of, look, I want you guys to get deeper in the ball game, and let's keep this bullpen fresh early on, and hopefully that helps us in the second half.
It might really pay off. Big game. James will be going Wednesday night. Wade Davis tomorrow night for the Royals. That's James Shields Wednesday night. Fouled away 1 and 2. Shields has been very good. And Davis has a lot of potential. He's 3 and 3 with a 5.98 ERA, so not quite with the kind of ERA that they would probably welcome in Kansas City. But nonetheless, with Hochevar sliding from the rotation to the bullpen and Bruce Chen doing that same thing, it would seem that their depth of their entire staff has improved, and it's a staff with an ERA of 3.54 coming into this game tonight. Breaking pitch gets Carter on strikes.
Hochevar, as a starter last year, allowed the most earned runs in all of the American League. Numbers were not good. 5.73 the ERA last year, but that kind of a curveball should play quite well.
He has the stuff. J.C. Gutierrez in 1 inning allowed no hits, no runs. He had 2 walks, no strikeouts. That's strikeout number 3 for Royals pitching tonight. Carlos Pena has been on all 3 times with a double and a pair of walks. Hochevar should be strong. He hasn't worked in a week. May 13th against the Angels, a save, 3-inning save. Here's ball 1.
Astros had that same scenario work on their side in Pittsburgh. Jose Cisnero went a week without pitching, and when he did pitch, boy, was he good.
He sure was. Mike Stanton took note of that big strikeout he had on the center fielder McCutchen and how much confidence he gained in that one. 2 balls, no strikes.
96 on that heater, and so still these years later, now at the age of 29, Hochevar can throw hard. You can see why he was able to impress the scouts the way he did.
It's 2-1. He was the first pick in the 06 draft from Denver, Colorado, and the University of Tennessee. His father Brian played pro basketball for the '79 Denver Nuggets. His mother Carmen played basketball and volleyball at Southern Colorado. His sister Brittany played pro volleyball in Puerto Rico. She was an All-America at Long Beach State. Ground ball. There's Hosmer taking it, and it's out, number 2. His brother Dylan pitched at the University of Tennessee.
Join us this Friday, May 24th, for the next big and bright Friday night. The Astros take on the Oakland A's at 7:10. 10,000 fans will receive an Astros koozie. That's courtesy of Budweiser. Then stay for the post-game fireworks show presented by Marathon Oil. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com to get your tickets today.
Now it's Jimmy Peretta stepping up. He has 2 hits and 2 runs batted in tonight. Good night for Jimmy. Strike 1. Well, Hochevar was the man drafted first in 06. Who's going to be the man drafted first in 2013 when the Astros are on the clock June 6th?
It's always fun to look back years later and see who some of the other names in a draft might have been when Hochevar was drafted first. Evan Longoria was a few picks later.
There's a liner, and Hosmer comes down with it. Eric Hosmer goes up and stabs that one off the bat of Jimmy Peretta for out number 3, and we go to the 8th with the score 6-4 Astros.
Astros. Hey, come out to Minute Maid Park this Saturday, May 25th for the annual Bayou Bash presented by Louisiana Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus with a special thanks to Budweiser. First pitch against the A's is 6:10, but make sure you get out here early because there's going to be live music, crawfish, and a lot more. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS to get your tickets right now. And again, that's May 25th, guys. Back to you.
Are the Bash brothers going to be here, Bart?
Well, if they aren't, they should be.
I agree. Wesley Wright comes in. George Kateris, who is the first batter, is 0 for 3 lifetime against Wesley, who in his 18 1/3 innings has an ERA of 2.95. Paul Clemens got an important out in the 7th inning, getting Billy Butler on one pitch to bounce into a forced play. And now George Kateris, who entered for the injured Salvador Perez, makes it lefty on lefty, so very much advantageous for the Astros not to have to face Perez here. Of course, they probably wouldn't be using Wesley Wright, but who knows? He's been effective against right-handers in the past. There's ball 1 to Kateris.
Wesley Wright has had issues a couple of times so far this year hitting that left-hander that he's brought on to try to get that immediate out in the ball game.
That's true. That has happened a couple times lately. Kateris was with Milwaukee. He had been drafted by San Diego and then traded to Boston, but it was a waiver claim by Milwaukee and had only had a few at-bats with Boston before the 2010 season. In 2011 with Milwaukee, had 5 homers and 111 at bats. And then last year he moved along during the season from Milwaukee to Oakland. Just 13 at bats this season for Kateris. He works the count to 3-1 now. Bouncer slowly hit. Altuve comes in. Yeah, that's a good development for Wesley Wright after falling behind 3-1. He gets him on an easy ground ball for out number 1.
I'm surprised that George Kateris was swinging on the 3-1 with a new pitcher on. He's trying to find the strike zone, and offering right there, just it felt out of place to me.
Well, the Astros greet that happy development. Out number 1 here in the 8th inning. 12,989 the paid attendance tonight, and it's another lefty, Eric Hosmer, coming up now. Hosmer's 2 for 3. Jammed on that one, flips it over third base, and it's looked like a double into the left field corner. Robbie Grossman picks it up. Hosmer in with a 2-base hit, his 3rd hit of the night. Hosmer with 12 runs batted in for the season coming into this game, might be into a breakout type part of his year. He was certainly stone cold when the game began.
That would have been a tough double right here, kind of that flare that eats up a hitter. Tough to take had it been right on the heels of a leadoff walk.
Yeah. Hosmer hits the deck. That's 10 hits for the Royals. And now again they bring the potential tying run to the plate, and Jeff Francoeur, he is 2 for 3. And, let's see, they're going to appeal at first that Hosmer missed the base, and he did not. Wait a minute, Bo Porter's coming out. He apparently wants a little more attention paid to this.
Bo saying, don't listen to anybody in the dugout. I'm here to talk with you.
Well, those players, especially the guys who are on the rail outside first base, really watch for that to see if the Royals base runners step on the bag. So one of them may have passed it down the line. They felt that he missed first base. Now Bo Porter's going to go out. Let's take a look at this.
We get the definitive word, and he hit it.
Yep.
And he hit it quite well. In fact, you're supposed to hit just the inside corner, and he got corner and then some.
Well, that's going to evolve into a pitching move now as Wesley Wright comes out of the game. Jeff Francoeur coming up next. It's going to be the right-hander Hector Ambriz out of the bullpen. 6-4 Houston. Back in a moment.
And a pitching change with Hector Ambriz coming on. Some of you watching this game right now don't have CSN in your own home. If your TV provider doesn't carry CSN yet, call and tell them you want your CSN so you can have the very best of coverage with your Astros. This is your network. Astros fans, you need this network, and you deserve it. To get the facts, go to iwantcsnhouston.com.
Hector Ambriz has come out of the bullpen. He'll be pitcher number 4 for Bo Porter tonight. Wesley Wright went 1/3 of an inning. He leaves with a runner at second. Hosmer charged to him. And it's Jeff Francoeur, the batter. Francoeur is 2 for 3. Ambriz 1-2 with a 5.85 ERA. Ambriz pitched in yesterday's game, 1 hitless inning in the 1-0 loss at Pittsburgh. He delivers. There's strike 1. He had the rough outing, the blown save Friday night in Pittsburgh, coming in with a 4-2 lead in the 8th inning and giving up a game-tying 2-run homer to Pedro Alvarez. Astros losing that game Friday night 5-4, winning the game Saturday in 11, and then losing yesterday 1-0. So they've had some tough setbacks lately, and hoping to put this one into the win column and move on. 1-1 strike with Hosmer the runner. Fastball.
Looked like Francoeur tried to do the right thing and the only thing on that tough pitch down and away. Trying to shoot it to right field.
Francoeur, reaching back a few years, has hit well against the Astros. 320, 8 homers, 29 runs batted in. It's a doink to right field. Jimmy Paredes comes in, and that will be a hit. And here comes Hosmer to the plate. Here's the throw from Paredes, and he scores to make it 6-5. Moving into second base, Francoeur on a looping double. Not hit hard at all, but he dropped it in front of Paredes in right.
Chris Carter did not get himself in a cutoff position here, and he's moving around positions. I'm not sure he has a good feel for what he needs to do at first base. And now time for the pitch by pitch presented by Steel Dealers. You see the curveball to start him. He got a favorable call and then misses away with the fastball. That was a great pitch there. And the little dork right here that drops in was a tough looking breaking ball down and away. Great effort by Jimmy Paredes. That's all you can do when a guy just flares one into play.
Now Miguel Tejada bats. He has the 3-run homer in 3 trips. RBI double for Francoeur, his 7th double, his 3rd hit of the night. Off the mask. Jason Castro at strike 1. So Hosmer's run is charged to Wesley Wright, who in 1/3 of an inning allows 1 hit, 1 run, but no walks, no strikeouts. Now it's down to a 1-run lead. And probably fitting the way these two teams have been packing in the 1-run decisions in recent days.
This left-right inning in terms of the pitching for the Astros has not played out as the design might have desired.
No, percentages have been in their favor, but not performances. Ground ball slowly hit. And here's Marwin with a play for out number 2. Francoeur taking 3rd. 2 outs, and it's Johnson coming up next.
Big out, obviously, to get right now. Hold the ball game with the lead and get it into the hands of Jose Veras with at least a 1-run lead.
Elliot Johnson, a switch hitter, will bat left now. Here's out number 2. Johnson had the RBI single in the 2nd. He's 1 for 3, lined out to left in the 7th inning against Dallas Keuchel. He gets a breaker for strike 1 from Hector Ambriz. Johnson as a left-handed batter, just 4 points higher than his right-handed hitting performance. Royals picked him up in a trade in February of this year.
His value is as that utility infielder and a guy who could steal some bases. He runs very well.
Lorenzo Cain's on deck. 11 hits for the Royals, 9 for the Astros. Kansas City has the only error tonight. Good placement there by Ambrose. Makes it 1-2 now.
Watch the movement on this fastball, just darting away.
Hector, 28 years old, from Orange, California, trying to snuff out this Royals rally in the 8th inning. Now 2-2 to Johnson. Hector was drafted by Arizona, taken in the Rule 5 draft by Cleveland. The Astros picked him up as a free agent last June. Fly ball left. Robbie Grossman back to end it in the 8th for Kansas City. It's 1 run, 2 hits. Miguel Tejada had a chance to tie it, but he grounded out, and it's 6-5 Houston. Dominguez 3-run homer, 4th inning, gives the Astros the lead again, 6-4 after Miguel Tejada had hit a 3-run bomb in the top of the inning.
Matt Dominguez has been flashing that power bat of lately, and nice to see. You have those corner infielders, corner outfielders. You want to get that power game from those guys.
Now pitcher number 4 for Ned Yost. Aaron Crow comes in the game to face Dominguez.
25 years of age. Came from the University of Missouri, Columbia. That makes Brownie a fan right away.
Well, in part.
Yeah, just in part.
Dominguez takes a strike.
13 games on the season, ERA at 169. Pretty good numbers coming out of that pen.
Here's what's hard to figure. He was a first-round pick of Washington in 08, did not sign. Went through the draft again in 09, another first-round pick. Kansas City took him with the 12th pick after he had been the 9th pick the year before. And when he did not sign, he played independent ball for the Fort Worth Cats in 08 and 09.
Guys wind up taking that route with the independent ball.
shot on the ground, but right to the third sacker, Tejada. Sips the throw over to Hosmer.
That's still a good arm that Tejada has down at third base.
You can still get it done, Ash.
Very nice. Watch this throw. That ball's hit sharply, and he just airs it out with ease.
Played in the World Baseball Classic. He had to earn his way back to the major leagues this year.
You always look for that guy to play third base that has that kind of an arm. Shortstop as well. Shortstop is unique. Ozzie Smith didn't have much of an arm, but boy, he could play that position. Remember Brooks Robinson down at third, maybe known by many as the greatest third baseman defensively of all time, but he didn't have a good throwing arm. He was just gifted with the glove and real quick with that release.
Yeah. Gonzalez is 1 for 3. Marwin Singleton scored in the third inning. Royals have the top of their lineup due up in the ninth. Astros closer is Jose Veras. 1 ball, 1 strike. It'll be Kane, Escobar, and Gordon due up in the Royal ninth inning. Gonzalez trying to provide some assurance with Robbie Grossman on deck. Running in the air, and that's caught by Crow. 2 outs. You know, talking about Crow not signing, well, that's the situation of Mark Appel, who was drafted last year in the first round by Pittsburgh. He fell to the number 8 choice, did not sign. He's gone back and he's had an outstanding year at Stanford. And now he again is being mentioned as the possible first pick in the draft, as he was last year. Jose Veras getting loose. But it could be Jonathan Gray of Oklahoma. Grossman fouls it, strike 1. Robbie with a single, a walk, and a sac bunt has been active tonight. That one doing some damage there to George Gutaris.
Gray's a big guy with an arm that allegedly can get in that 100-mile-an-hour area.
Yeah.
Never heard. Does Appel get in that kind of range? As Gutaris is not really interested in our conversation.
Not much.
He's all about the baseball drilling him here.
Well, most people would be more concerned about their throats than our conversation.
Kind of a selfish attitude, I
Yes,
think.
it is. Nonetheless, it's kind of intriguing. Who's going to be number 1 overall on June 6th? Will it be Jonathan Gray of Oklahoma? Will it be Mark Appel of Stanford? Or someone else? 1-1. Baseball America is out with its draft preview issue. One scouting director said of those 2 pitchers, you've got the 2 big ones, then there's a big separation.
So if you're thinking pitching, you likely have to think in terms of one of those 2.
And he went on to say people knew Appel would be good, but I don't think anyone thought Gray would be as good as he's been. So he's coming quickly. Fly ball toward the seats.
Might there be any fear there that a guy's just kind of coming on and having one good season?
There might be. And so it gets to be very intriguing at this point, getting close. And as you know, the Astros are taking a look at all these guys. They're considering strongly with that first pick.
Think of Roger Clemens, and he was a guy who developed arm strength late in life, and that is extremely rare.
Yeah. Now, one American League scouting director said, I would probably take Appel only because of the track record, but I saw Gray so good this spring. He touched 98 and the slider was very good. He was dominating. There's a shot on 1 hop. Tejada zips another strong throw over to Hosmer. That's it for the 8th inning. Now 6-5 Houston, going to the 9th. this series with the Royals. Pre-game live starts at 6:30 p.m. only on Comcast Sportsnet. Ash.
Let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup, brought to you by Chevron. Care for your car. Car needs some new tires very soon. Keep driving like that. Wade Davis goes for KC, 3-3 on the year. The ERA would indicate that he has had his problems, as well as the batting average against, 3.49. Bud Norris gets the assignment, 4-4, 4.32 the ERA. And Bud has yielded a 2.96 batting average against, but Bud has really been better than those numbers would indicate, at least to my eye, what I've watched this year.
Well, we'll take your word for it, because we know you are a man with great expertise. There is Trevor Crow in right field.
My eye could not miss, right?
But as a driver, you know, that Chevron car kind of sounded like when you leave the parking garage after a home game.
Yeah, but the engine is well tuned. His tires are going to pay the price.
Jose Veras 0-2, 6 for 8 in saves, and he's in a one-run save situation here. Hector Ambrose worked 2/3 of an inning. He allowed 1 hit, no runs, with no walks, no strikeout. Pitcher number 5, Veras, goes to work, and so does Lorenzo Cain. He's 0 for 3 with a walk. Dominguez even with the bag at third. And there's ball 1 at 92 from Jose. Jose saved the 7-5 win at Detroit on the road trip. That was 5 days ago. And then in Pittsburgh, he saved the 4-2 11-inning win Saturday night.
Wow. Apparently that pitch was called high. Jose kind of kept walking in that direction, trying to figure out maybe if he could get word as to where this pitch is. It's right at the belt buckle.
Height was not a problem. Getting a strike call. Didn't appear anyway.
You going to go with inside or outside?
Well,
I'm not sure which one I'm going to choose.
It's a guessing game, isn't it? Let's just call it a 2-0 count. That's on the edge. Make it 2-1. Isn't that the difficult thing, though, about pitching in a situation like the one Jose Veras finds himself in? You just have to move on, even though a call like that can really be big.
One of the biggest things you can do as a pitcher is just do as you say. Move on and make a good pitch on the next one.
Ooh, spins up a breaking ball. That didn't work for him, and it's 3-1 now.
You can't walk the leadoff man in a one-run ball game in the 9th inning. But now you're in that precarious 3-1 situation.
Doug Brocale, Bo Porter, hoping Veras can come up with something here on Cain. He walked 7 in 17 innings. He threads that one in, and it's 3-2. Anybody come to mind as far as closers or just pitchers in general you work with who had a hard time overcoming a bad call, where it would really bother them and you could tell it?
You know what my gut reaction as an answer to that question is? Guys who didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And names you wouldn't really have on your tongue.
Oh, he brought it around again. The breaking ball didn't work for him, and he went back to it.
3-2, leading off the 9th inning in a one-run ball game, and he comes with that. There is not a hitter playing in this game was going to look for this pitch right here. I am sorry.
That is impressive.
Looked like even Jason Castro was a little bit surprised at the last moment.
That's some confidence.
Wow.
One out now. Escobar batting. Escobar is 1 for 4. That was a surprise. And ball 1. If we were to get Cain aside, and he would be very honest with you, he'd probably say, there is no way I thought he would have thrown that pitch.
I had my dial dead red and didn't even consider anything else.
Exactly. Veras missing there, falls behind Escobar now 2-0. And this is a tight wire act, 2-0 on the first 2 hitters. Dominguez backs up at third about 3 steps. It's 2-1.
How about that? Alcides Escobar swinging on the 2-0. Of course, as a leadoff man, you would definitely expect to take there with 1 out. Maybe you're looking for that triple fastball that you can hit the double with.
Escobar walks it off. Royals lost 3 games in Oakland over the weekend, all by 1 run. Now 3-1 to Escobar. Escobar had 35 steals last year. He's 8 for 8 this year. Alex Gordon's on deck.
So you put him on, and that running game potentially becomes a big part of the inning.
Strike 2.
I got to hand it to Jose Veras. When he falls behind, he will make some really nasty pitches. He's not coming to the heart of the plate. Castro's setting up on the edge.
Big pitch coming for Jose Veras now on 3-2 and 1 out to Escobar. And he got him. Houston Astros baseball on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Progressive. Visit progressive.com today. 2 outs in the 9th inning. And Veras, who fell behind both hitters, 2-0 and then 3-2. Struck out Kane, struck out Escobar. Now it's Gordon.
For Jose Veras, the action pitch is at 3-2.
So we just start Gordon at 3-2.
Might as well.
A single and 2 walks for Alex. 345 batting average. The crowd is into it. There's ball 1.
Starter changeup right there, or splitter.
84-mile-per-hour pitch. And the Astros would love to secure this one and then start a really nice homestand. Royals trying to avoid dropping a game below 500. It's a 2-0 count, and a show of respect for Alex Gordon on these 2 changeups.
Exactly that. Yeah, this is, I don't want to have to throw him a fastball through the plate.
And there's the Reed Ryan factor.
I wonder if about a week ago if Reed would have felt that same pain right there.
Roll backs up in right field 2 steps. Gordon has a cut. And Gordon is that type of hitter, and on that type of a roll you could understand why Crow was backing up a little bit.
If Ned Yost, the skipper of the Royals, could have gone to home plate and just spoken to Alex Gordon, he would have said just exactly what Alex did right there. Take a big swing. See if you can catch the lightning in a bottle on that one swing and tie the ball game.
Hit to first base. Carter takes it to the bag, and Jose Veras nails it down. Reed Ryan taking over as president of Astros business operations. Watches the Astros win it 6-5. Veras nailing it down, and Dallas Keuchel gets win number 1 with the Astros this season. It was a 3-run homer by Matt Dominguez in the 4th that gave the Astros the lead. There's the finish as Chris Carter takes it to first base. Reed Ryan applauds. 6-5. The Astros win it tonight.